This is a very, very sad story.
Yeah.
And the question is, should government decide who lives and who dies? What do y'all think?
No.
Yeah, that sounds like a communist government. I'm not here for it.
Team small government here.
Yeah. Well, Andy Gregory was a child in the UK, had a rare mitochondrial disease, was on life support. Family was fighting, like the mom and dad were fighting to, like, obviously like any parent would, saying, hey, let's do all we can to save our daughter and let's see what other treatments are out there. And the UK government basically was like, yeah, we're not gonna let y'all. The child had gotten, Italy basically was like, hey, we'll take the child, and we have another form of treatment that we think could help her and save her life. Parents were all for it. And the UK was like, no, because in the UK, universal healthcare, ultimately the government is like, if you're on life support, then we can overturn the parent's decision to, keep that child on. Very sad story, but take a look at this video. It's not that video. That's coming down the pipeline. Take a look at this video, and
in the last few minutes, a judge
let me know
has
what you
ruled
think.
against the parents of this baby. They want to continue her treatment at the local hospital where she is, says that there is no point to continuing this treatment. The High Court says they will not be able to take their baby to Italy for treatment. Let's go live to Becky Cottrell in Nottingham, who's covering this story for us. A really difficult one for these parents. Becky, just tell us a little bit more about the background and what's going to happen now.
Yeah, so Indy Gregory, just 8 months old, she has a rare mitochondrial disease that essentially saps her of energy. As you mentioned, hospitals say that continuing treatment is futile and actually causing Indy pain, which the family dispute. Now, the hospital had previously successfully argued in court that she should be withdrawn from life support. The family had a...
Hold up.
So the hospital goes to the government essentially and is like, hey, yeah, there's this kid here, mitochondrial disease. We think we should basically pull the plug, essentially. What is y'all reactions to that as future mothers?
I wish they would.
I will be sneaking on a plane to Italy that night.
For real.
Like I don't care what.
Like
I'll go to jail over that. That's ridiculous to me. How dare you think that you have a say in whether my child lives or dies? That's insane to me. Yeah. Especially when there's an option. You don't want to take that chance?
There's an option where it's not even going to affect like the UK in the grand scheme of things. And you're just like, yeah, no.
Right.
They have to go. Like, excuse me?
Like, how do you have the gall to come up with an argument against that? That's wild. I would love to be inside that person's mind.
Yeah. And like, I guess that's happened a lot more though. A lot more than this one time where they just are like, oh, you're on life support, like we can't.
Oh yeah, it's a common thing that happens. Where
in the UK.
The hospitals, if somebody is, I guess, taking up space in their minds, then they can go and say, hey, like this person's on life support, family won't let them go, essentially. Can y'all overturn this? And they can argue and basically be ruled in the hospital's favor to go ahead and have the plug pulled, which is a very sad thing, especially if your loved ones are fighting. Now, a lot of people argue, well, aren't they suffering? Aren't they in pain? Isn't it gracious and merciful for them to, pull the plug so that that person can,
No.
I feel like
not experience pain.
This goes
any longer?
back to like the deleting babies thing, where it's like, well, you don't know what's going to happen to the baby. You don't know what their outcome's going to be once they're born. And it's like, well, you also don't know what good things might come. You also don't know. Well, one, is it even up to you to know? Like, just a lot of questions.
Yeah, like it's not your call to decide that. Like, I'm going to pull the plug because they're suffering and it's probably just better for them to die.
Yeah.
Who are you to say that?
Yeah.
What? No, I just believe as followers of Christ that we are called to be kind to each other and give each other that fighting chance to live. And
Yeah, and when the time comes, let the time come naturally.
naturally, when it's time, that's not our call at all.
What do you think?
What do I think? Yeah, I'm along with you guys where, I mean, I don't think the government should be stepping in to, heed what the hospital says, especially about something, and especially if there's another option. So in this case is very, very interesting because you have Italy who had granted this child citizenship so that the child could come and get treatment to possibly extend the child's life and to cure the child potentially. And it's not even, I'm not sure if it wasn't considered or eventually, or that wasn't enough to say, all right, we're still not going to, we're still going to move forward with pulling the plug, which I think is very sad.
It
I think
is.
it's very sad.
It is. I think what's even more sad to me is like, ultimately, I think they decided, to stick with this decision to pull the plug, the hospital, because ultimately it's about money and space.
Absolutely.
And that and that's one of the risks of universal health care, by the way.
Yeah.
That's one of the risks about it, because everyone gets the same treatment. Now, yes, everyone deserves health care, and that's a different problem in and of itself, but universal health care is not the true system that we believe it is. And this is one of the risks of that. Other people have a say in what goes on in our own lives, and it can ultimately lead to decisions like this, because what if that were you and your child? Like,
Yeah, very true. I mean, I think a lot of people don't understand the dangers of having like a governing body rule over everything, because people will complain about capitalism and it's like a free-for-all, but it's like, yeah, it still gives people a fighting chance, everybody a fighting chance to climb, and advance social economically greater than where they are now. Whereas we have a governing body like communism, then the government is over everything, but also the government still has to run itself like a business. Goal of a business is to still be profitable, year in and year out. And so what do you think it's going to do? It's going to operate like a capitalist, except it just has control over, more control over your life. And so that can get very dangerous, because it can say, no, you're going to stay here, right? And now there's plenty of things within, our capitalistic society that holds people back that, need to be reformed. But all in all, it gives the greatest amount of people the best chance to advance socioeconomically. Can't even say that word today. Let's continue on.
Feel that they had lost that. And then came this offer from a hospital in Rome. They said that they would provide an alternative form of treatment for Indy, and that it would be funded by the Italian government. Now, the hospital, even after that intervention, said they still thought the best course of action would be to remove life support. So both parties went back to court this week, and just now we have got the judge's decision that Indy will not be allowed to go to Italy for treatment. And just let me read you some sections of that judgment. So he says, what would be the benefit of transfer to Rome? The answer is that on the evidence and my earlier judgment, there is none. On the contrary, continuation of such treatment would, on my findings, perpetuate a high level of pain and suffering for Indy.
All right, so the judge is basically saying that, hey, you go to Rome, I still don't see the benefit, because it's just going to perpetuate even more stress on the child, even higher levels of pain on the child. So what do y'all think about that?
BS.
I still think it's not up to you to decide that. Like, that's not your child. And they're trying to leave the country anyways. So why do you care so much?
Yeah, exactly. Why does it matter? Why is it even in court?
Well, it seems like that this judge is saying that it knows best for the child more so than the parents, or is making decisions for the child over the actual parents of that child. Now, there is situations where a judge needs to step in
absolutely.
and, like, DFACS or Child Protective Services, but I don't think this is one when you're talking about whether the child lives or dies, because even if the child experiences pain now, if it's something that could potentially save its life, then, what's the risk? Because if the child's already dying, then, it's why are we rushing that?
Exactly.
I mean, you could say that about anybody. It's like we're all kind of dying, so you can just
Might as
go
well just cut it off right there.
Right.
Yeah,
Might
so-
as well just,
yeah. But like at least that would give the child a fighting chance, and say something miraculous happens, then you never know.
It's a testimony right there.
Miracles happen every day. Also, there was a medical option that could have at least extended the child's life to give way for a miracle or a medical miracle to happen. So I think it's just really sad that that judge ruled not to even open that possibility or not to have that possibility manifest itself, because you never know what's going to happen.
That judge should be ashamed of himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Mama Prophet says the UK has conducted a cost-benefit analysis that has no biblical basis.
Amen.
Yep.
Obviously not news that the family wanted to hear. I have heard that they will appeal this decision. Now, there is a thing called a stay of execution, which means that Indy cannot be taken off life support while that is in place. We understand that is in place until 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. If the family lose their appeal, Indy will be taken off life support.
Yeah, and to my understanding, I believe that they lost the appeal and they took the child off life support, and it died later
She died.
Oh, you said
Well, I was just, I didn't mean to say that, but she died later that evening, or whether it was yesterday or today, I forgot when this came out. But just, very sad circumstances.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of what we think. Should government decide who lives and dies? We'd love to hear your, comments. Just give us some dialogue down in the comment section. And until next time, we will see you in our next video.